Hi, this is Thomas. Welcome back to the course Project Management Fundamentals. This lecture covers the topic Project Setup. During the lecture, we'll cover three main topics: project governance, the launch of the project, and risk management, starting with project governance. The key concepts of project governance are accountability and authority. Accountability answers the question, who is responsible for the project? Of course, for the day-to-day activity, that's the project manager. But at a higher level, it's important to have support from the institution for the project. And this happens through getting the organization's commitment to the project and being accountable for what's happening with the project. It also happens through project advocates. These are individuals at the organization besides the project manager that are going to support the project, support the manager, and encourage the support of the organization as a whole. And finally, the support network for the project manager means that the project manager can't succeed alone. He or she will need to have access to individuals and resources within and sometimes outside of the organization that the organization can arrange to produce a successful project. The question authority answers is, who can make decisions relating to the project? And again, at the day-to-day activity level, that is the project manager. But the project manager has a set level of authority, and part of governance is determining what that level of authority is, and when decisions need to be made beyond that level of authority, who are the decision makers? And ultimately, in some cases, there might need to be consideration of project termination, and a part of governance is identifying who is responsible, who has the authority to make the decision to terminate a project. And the key structure to promote good governance is the project board. In the case of a small organization, this could be a one-person project sponsor. A board should include diverse stakeholders, people with different perspectives, different interests in the project, to support the project manager with a variety of ideas and insights. Another role of the board is ensuring commitment and accountability at the organizational level, a concept that we've already mentioned as an important part of governance. Also, the board will provide support and advice for the project manager. The project manager is the day-to-day expert running the project, but won't be able to succeed alone. The project manager is going to need additional support, and this is another role of the board. The project board is also responsible for decisions beyond the project manager's tolerances. Tolerances refer to the levels of decision authority that have been granted to the project manager. Decisions beyond that level require outside decision makers, and those decision makers are the board members. And finally, the board monitors the viability of the project, what's happened to date, have there been any changes in perspective or assumptions, and is the project still a realistic pursuit for the organization. Next is launching the project. This is done through the project charter. The project charter is a document that concludes several main points regarding the project. First, the purpose of the project and deliverables. What is the anticipated result at the end of the project? Next are estimates relating to what activities will be involved, what is the schedule, what is the timing for the project, and what is the budget, what are the financial requirements to complete the project. Tolerances, as we've already mentioned, are the limit set for the project manager's decision-making authority, and the concept of change control is the process used when those tolerances have been exceeded. As an example, one of the estimates, tolerances are tied to estimates. One of the estimates related to the project is going to be the budget. And there might be a policy that states that the project manager has the authority to go 5% over a particular area of the budget. And the change control feature of the project charter will address who is responsible for decision making once a project manager has reached tolerance and the project requires decisions beyond those tolerance levels. And finally, the project charter addresses assumptions. What ideas do we believe to be true that lead us to believe that the project is going to succeed in achieving its goals? And constraints, which are challenges and limiting factors that we face in working towards project goals. Next, in launching the project is a formal communication announcing the project, and this is typically done through a release of the project charter. So through this communication, we're making a formal acknowledgement of our new project. We're introducing the various stakeholders to the project, and we also want to ensure that the stakeholders understand what the project is, what the goals are, and how they will be influenced or affected by the project. Now let's look more closely at project risk, a concept we mentioned in discussing the components of the project charter. The concept of risk asks the question, what could go wrong? And there are several possibilities of what could go wrong, in particular due to complexities relating to international development projects. Here are several examples. Local conflict in the area in which we're working. Scope creep, which is the idea that the scope, without people realizing, expands, requiring more people, more resources, and resulting in a situation in which we're losing focus on our original goal. Financial issues, most commonly a shortage of financial resources, and staff shortages can also be a potential risk that affects the project. We need a tool to address project, and that concept is risk management. So the risk management process involves identifying possible risks, assessing those risks from two perspectives: probability that the risk will in fact become a reality, and the potential impact of or significance of that risk should it become a reality. Planning for response to risk includes four options: avoiding the risk by not doing a certain activity, transferring the risk, a good example is insurance, reducing the risk, perhaps by limiting our activity or getting others involved in the activity, or simply accepting the risk, acknowledging it, being aware of it, but continuing with our plan. And finally, risk monitoring and control is important to understand how risks might change, how probability increases or decreases, how impact might become stronger or weaker, how new risks might come into play that weren't risks that we were concerned with earlier in the project. These are all the components of risk management. And two risk management tools, really two different levels of risk management tools, are the red flag list, which is for smaller projects, and this is simply sitting down with a group, brainstorming to identify what possible risks are, and then on a periodic basis reviewing and updating that list to be sure we're aware of risks that could potentially affect a project. For larger projects, the risk register is a nice tool to use. This is an identification of risks, a list of possible risks, prioritized by probability and impact. We can use a matrix looking at the probability, low or high, of a risk, and the impact, low or high, of a risk. We can use that to prioritize. Risks with low probability and low impact will be lower priorities than risks that have high probability with a high potential impact on our project. And in the risk register, we also identify how do we respond to risks were they to become real situations. And when we meet in class, we'll continue working with the project scenarios we've already begun working with to apply these concepts and make sure you have the opportunity to learn how to use these project management tools in a realistic setting. I look forward to seeing you in class.